The president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, says that the president's written answers to the special counsel will likely be turned over in the next few days. The president this week said that he answered the questions very easily, according to him. And the development comes after the president recently railed against the Mueller investigation, calling it a total witch hunt that's run by Democrat thugs. For more on this, we turn to Joseph Hayden. He's an attorney. So, Joseph, we know the president has provided those written answers to the questions from Special Counsel Mueller, but do you get a sense of what the Mueller team might have asked?
Well, from all newspaper reports, they are asking about collusion, but not obstruction. Apparently, the president's team has said they will not answer questions about obstruction. And apparently, Mr. Mueller has gone along with that. I think that's very significant because it may mean that Mueller's investigation as to obstruction of justice is over. And although he would probably, in a perfect world, like the questions and the answers, he doesn't need them. But the collusion or conspiracy investigation is ongoing, and he would like that information. I also think it's revealing that the Trump team will not allow the president to answer questions as to obstruction because they may be thinking it will get him in deeper.
So when you talk about potentially protecting the president from his attorney's standpoint, the president has said that he has answered those questions himself. Is that problematic from a legal standpoint at all? You would expect him to respond to them.
I suspect there's an element of hyperbole in there. No lawyer would allow somebody to just answer the questions themselves. They have probably had discussions. The attorneys reduced the answers to writing, and obviously the client at the end of the day will read every paragraph, read every sentence, and read every word, and then sign off on it. But I suspect the phraseology will come from the attorneys and not Mr. Trump. And by the way, that's normal. That's not just unique to this situation.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, you talk about protecting the president from his attorney's standpoint. Do you think we'll ever see an in-person interview with President Trump?
Well, you mean with Mr. Mueller?
Yes.
I doubt it because, to be charitable, Mr. Trump is so stream of consciousness that however much an attorney could prep him for purposes of an interview, he's probably going to say whatever pops into his mind and could very well damage himself in terms of a legal investigation.
So this has now hit an 18-month mark. Are you surprised how long it's taken, and what are you watching for in the coming weeks?
Well, that really is a $64 question because I think Mueller has been quiet, but he has not been inactive. They started out investigating obstruction of justice, and they seem to have come to the end of the line. They had a parallel investigation as to computer hacking, and they ended up with a separate indictment of Russian nationals and Russian companies. They then had an indictment after that of individuals tied in to the Russian military. So it's clear that this hacking during the 2016 campaign came from the highest echelons of the Russian government. What they're now looking at is whether or not any member of the Trump campaign or people associated with it were conspiring with the Russians to hack and interfere with the 2016 campaign. That is the last chapter to be written, I suspect.
Do you think Donald Trump Jr. has anything to be concerned about?
According to newspaper reports, there are some issues with his testimonies in front of a Senate committee. There have been some reports that he was involved in meetings with Russian individuals. The question is whether they were innocent meetings or whether they were part of a conspiracy. And it's one, certainly he has something to be concerned about. Whether or not Mr. Mueller will pull the trigger in terms of criminal indictment will depend upon the facts known to him and not known to me.
There's so much we just don't know, Joseph, at this point from the Mueller probe. But based on what you have heard and what we've seen sort of in the media, what do you think this case is going to come down to? And does the president have reason to be seriously concerned?
First of all, in my opinion, there will not be an indictment because the authority seems to be that a sitting president cannot be indicted. The Mueller report, now there could be indictments of others, and there could even be an allegation that the president is an unindicted co-conspirator. But certainly the Mueller report can make a decisions and fact-finding as to whether or not there was criminal conduct. They just can't indict. I think obstruction of justice could well be a serious concern, starting with the firing of Comey, some of the president's statements to the Russians and the Lester Holt and the other things. And remember, it's somewhat amazing the number of people who are now cooperating witnesses. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, personal attorney Michael Cohen, White House counsel Don McCann, who was interviewed for 30 hours, Deputy Campaign Manager Rich Gates, Campaign Manager Paul Manafort. There's an old saying in Hudson County politics, you're indicted by your enemies, but convicted by your friends. And it's those who are closest who have knowledge. So the question really is, we're looking in the window, Mr. Mueller's is inside the room, and the question is whether he has the hard facts to tie everything together. But certainly it would be a matter of concern for the president and the people of the administration. Whether the criminal charges are bringable is another event.
Attorney Joseph Hayden, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.